6. The following morning, yet another questionable meal of murky-looking porridge. The orphans were laboring in the gardens. Catherine's hands smarted from the scratchy shrubs she was tending. She leaned back on her heels and turned to Rose, who was weeding the section next to her. Rose, I think someone was playing the organ in the chapel in the early hours. There was a strange vibration coming from below my room. The blood drained from Rose's face. Her hand shook and the weeds she'd been clutching tumbled to the ground. Shh! Don't say anything else. You're going to get us both in trouble, she whispered, and scrambled to pick up the fallen weeds. Why would we get in trouble for talking? Katherine asked. We're not doing anything wrong. Rose glanced at the other girls before lowering her voice further and saying, I don't know what you want me to say, Katherine. Strange things happen here. Sometimes they just can't be explained. It's safer for you and everyone if you stop trying to find answers. Katherine thought for a moment, but fear or no fear, she needed answers. She pressed Rose again. Just tell me the truth, and I won't ever bring it up again. I need to know what is going on here. Rose looked at her and shook her head in exasperation. Katherine felt a twinge of guilt for making the other girl uncomfortable, but thought she saw a glimmer of understanding in Rose's eyes. Perhaps she was beginning to win the young girl over. She bent over her patch of garden again, hoping to look busy and to placate Rose. She spoke from the side of her mouth so no one would realize they were talking. Surely you must have felt it too, Katherine pleaded. I mean, your room is right next to mine. Rose shook her head in denial. The only thing I hear at night is Emma snoring from across the room. Katherine scoffed in frustration. Rose really wasn't giving in easily. Through gritted teeth, she said, Look, Rose, enough is enough. I don't believe you. Strange things are happening here, but there must be a logical explanation. Everything points to Sister Nora, and you wouldn't be so scared if you didn't have the answers. Please, just be honest with me. We both have to live here. I need to know what's happening, too. Rose looked at Katherine, eyes wide with fear. Her shoulders slumped, and she gestured for Katherine to continue with her task. Okay, I'll tell you what I know, but at least make it look like you're working. Rose sighed and pushed a strand of hair out of her eyes before continuing. There was a girl here a few months ago, Rose said. I think they called her Ashlyn or something, and she heard things in the night too that no one else ever did. She felt like she was going crazy. She went to Sister Nora after the 6 o'clock service one evening, even though the girls warned her against it. Rose paused and looked around, making sure they were still not drawing any unwanted attention. Why? Katherine asked. You know very well what happens when you're alone with Sister Nora in her office. You're not the only one walking around with healing wounds. Rose took a deep, steadying breath before she went on. Nobody saw Ashlyn again after her meeting with Sister Nora. All her things were gone from her room the next day. It's like she never existed here. None of the other nuns would even speak of her. That's why you're the only one who has a spare bed in your room. That's where Ashlyn slept. Katherine spent the next few days trying to find out more about the other girls, but they remained tight-lipped. Whenever she tried to approach the subject, their eyes would flash with fear, and they would stutter excuses about needing to be somewhere else. They began to either avoid her or look at her as if she was going mad. They would whisper amongst themselves, glancing over at Katherine, making her feel like an outsider. It appeared that Sister Nora's wrath had successfully bought their silence, leaving the nun full rein to continue operating under a shroud of mystery. Yet Katherine didn't give up on her mission to find answers. One morning, lost in thought about who else in the convent she might ask, the cathedral bells rang to signify midday. She hadn't even noticed the morning slipping away from her. As she looked up from her work and wiped away the sweat dripping from her brow, she caught a glimpse of Father Michael blessing a local woman by the chapel doors. He was scheduled to carry out confession throughout the course of the day. He caught Katherine staring at him and offered a warm yet fleeting smile and walked back into the chapel. His friendly smile gave Katherine a little sliver of hope. Perhaps he might be able to help her. Katherine had been known in her hometown as cunning. Too wise for her age was what they used to say about her. She always knew how to get what she wanted, and she knew well enough that as Father Michael was a well-established clergyman, he was bound to silence by his vows. Whatever she would say to him would remain confidential. She thought about her mother's words many years ago as she was preparing for her first confession. What is said between a priest and a parishioner during confession is sacred. Anything you tell him is private, is between you and God. The priest is just the middleman. He has taken a vow of secrecy that cannot be broken. A vow of secrecy is very useful in this case, she thought. And so she decided that after lunch she would go to confession to speak with Father Michael.